Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be discussing who should win the Elimination Chamber matches. So we're going to go through the men's match and the women's match. We're going to look at every competitor that's in the match individually, and I'm going to tell you why they should win, but I'm also going to tell you why they shouldn't win the Elimination Chamber match to go on to their respective WrestleMania main events. This is also your opportunity in the comments to tell me who you think should win the Elimination Chamber matches, both men's and women's. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And don't forget, if you want more than just daily wrestling content, come over to the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, you're going to get so much more extra content that we can never upload here. So go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap, link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's start the video. All right, let's kick things off by talking about the Women's Elimination Chamber match and the 6 combatants in it. Let's start off by talking about maybe the most intriguing option to win the whole thing, that being Roxanne Perez. And I say that she's the most intriguing option because she offers the most unknown. She takes us into uncharted territories. A rookie winning Elimination Chamber and going on to be one of the main events of WrestleMania. And it doesn't sound entirely far-fetched considering this rookie is the same rookie that came second place in the Women's Royal Rumble, only to be eliminated by a perennial main eventer and Hall of Famer in Charlotte Flair, and broke the record for the Iron Woman of all Iron Womans in the Women's Rumble history. So even though it's uncharted territory, the groundwork that they laid out for a Roxanne Perez win doesn't make it entirely unattainable or completely unrealistic that she could win the Elimination Chamber match. It's also uncharted territory because Roxanne Perez versus Rhea Ripley is an unknown, just as is Roxanne Perez versus Io Sky is an unknown. This gives us a brand new matchup whichever way things land between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, even though we all pretty much know for a certainty that it's going to be Rhea Ripley that retains. But even in a world where maybe they give us a triple threat, Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky versus Roxanne Perez, that is a wild fantasy matchup that nobody in a million years would have predicted if you were trying to predict WrestleMania even like 4 weeks ago. Would I love to see Roxanne Perez win? Sure, why not? More than anything, what I'm looking to get out of a Roxanne Perez is a great performance, a great showing. What I want for Roxanne Perez to do, and what I think is a win condition for her in her career, is for her to have her Tiffany Stratton-like moment at the Elimination Chamber where the fans really get to see what she's all about, people fall in love with her, and then you can really truly spend the rest of the year building each individual mounting blocks to make her into a main eventer. But then again, if you really just want to pull the trigger on this and make her a main eventer right off the get-go and start a brand new revolution within women's wrestling by having a brand new face go into the main event of WrestleMania, WWE, I will not stop you. In terms of why she wouldn't win or why she shouldn't win, I mean, it's kind of all of the same reasons why I listed why she should win, because she's a rookie, she's an unknown. We don't know how she's going to be able to perform at this giant stage, and there's other players in this Elimination Chamber match that you could make a strong argument that have made and done a lot more work to get that opportunity at WrestleMania. And one of the reasons why Roxanne Perez is intriguing is that she has no history with Rhea Ripley or Io Sky, but at WrestleMania, many people want history. Many people want a grudge match. Many people want a story that spans more than just one PLE cycle, and unfortunately, Roxanne Perez just doesn't offer that with either champion. To me, this is a sleeper option. I like it. I really do, but I wouldn't be upset whichever way it lands. If she wins or doesn't win, I'm not going to be happy or necessarily like mad or anything like that. More than anything, I just want to see a great showing from Roxanne Perez, but it's a sneaky good pick. Bayley is all of the things that Roxanne Perez is not. She is not a rookie. She's a veteran. She's a 4-horsewoman. She is a main eventer. She is a first ballot Hall of Famer in the WWE, and the WWE already took one of those first ballot Hall of Famers in Charlotte Flair and already put her in one of the main events of WrestleMania. Maybe WWE wants to do the same thing and grab the known commodity, somebody that you know can deliver a big, great WrestleMania match like we saw last year against Io Sky, and you can just put Bayley into that situation if you really want to go with the safest available option. The other option why this is intriguing is what we can do with Bayley in terms of the two people that are available for her to be the Women's World Champion going into WrestleMania. The first option would be somebody like Io Sky, and we know the history that these two have. We talked about Roxanne Perez not having history with with either of them, and then you have to try and really like rush and build a storyline. You wouldn't need to do that between Bayley and Io Sky. There is so much legacy, and we know that last year's WrestleMania match between those two is one of the best women's matches that I've seen in the last 10 years. The other option is Rhea Ripley. That's really intriguing as well, because now we're putting Rhea Ripley in back-to-back WrestleManias against 4 horsewomen, and it really would be Rhea Ripley just removing the previous generation of top-tiered women's talent from the equation and ensuring that the new generation of women's wrestlers are the ones that are carrying the torch now. And hell, if you wanted to do a triple threat match, that also works as well. Why not? So there's some good reasons to go with Bayley. The reason why you shouldn't go with Bayley is that it is a very safe, very simple, very basic option. And personally, I don't think that they've done a particularly great job at making fans get excited about the idea of Bayley in a main event match again at WrestleMania. And unfortunately, the lackluster championship reign that she had with how it was poorly booked doesn't particularly help the case either. The other reason is that we've seen this play out before, you know, with her being the Women's Royal Rumble winner last year. We already got to see what a chasing Bayley looks like with Bayley going after a championship at WrestleMania. We already have seen that play out, and maybe you might want to see something else play out for a different talent. Alexa Bliss. This one is fascinating for several reasons, because we have seen Alexa Bliss go after championship gold at WrestleMania before. We have seen Alexa Bliss in the same ecosystem as Rhea Ripley, but we haven't really seen Alexa Bliss, modern day Alexa Bliss, versus modern day super uber megastar Rhea Ripley. That is an unknown commodity as well. And of course, Io Sky versus Alexa Bliss as well. Sure, they faced off in a women's Survivor Series War Games match several years ago, but that's about it. We haven't really had these two really cross paths. But what makes this intriguing is that it adds a different type of main eventer into the equation. No longer is it the I'm the best female wrestler on the planet. Now all of a sudden we're adding a potentially supernatural element into the mix, which might turn you off and might get you excited about the notion of having this in the main event ecosystem of women's wrestling. The other thing is that Alexa Bliss has been gone for so long, and a lot of people are obviously very much behind Alexa Bliss. You just need to hear that insane pop that she got at the Royal Rumble, probably the biggest return of both Rumbles, both men's and women's, in terms of overall reception. So clearly she has fan support for her. I think the biggest reason why you wouldn't go with somebody like Alexa Bliss is because she clearly has something else going on. There's that ever looming presence of what's going to happen with the Wyatt Six. Is that going to be a story that's going to be told leading up to WrestleMania? If it is a story leading into WrestleMania, do we have time to really develop Alexa Bliss versus the champion that she's chasing, when she's going to be likely fending off the mind control or whatever the hell it might be from the Wyatt Six, like she was with Bray Wyatt a few years ago? We also have to look at like the degrees of separation, which is basically how far away removed she is from the champions and Io Sky, who isn't the champion but could be the champion. And we're pretty separated in terms of logically tying up Alexa Bliss with Rhea Ripley or Io Sky. It would be pretty convoluted, especially with only about a month and a bit post Elimination Chamber to build to WrestleMania. Now let's talk about Naomi. In my opinion, Naomi, because of everything that's going on, I think that she is the least likely to win the Women's Elimination Chamber match. Like, if I'm creating Las Vegas odds, I would probably have Naomi near the bottom. Not because I don't think that she's worthy of going to WrestleMania and having a championship match. Like, she is a big name. She really is a known commodity as well. But it's the fact that she has this ever-looming presence of somebody called Jade Cargill, who could come back at any moment to exact revenge on what many people believe is the person that took out Jade Cargill in Naomi. And if that is the case, then that's Naomi's WrestleMania path. Something to do with Jade Cargill, something to do with Bianca Belair. And because that's yet to play out, that to me completely bottlenecks the idea of Naomi actually winning this thing. But Naomi winning this would signal to the rest of free agents that WWE is currently signing or trying to sign or might be pending free agents that, hey, look how we treated a TNA free agent. Look what we did. Yeah, sure, she had history and legacy in the WWE before, but she came from TNA TNA, we rolled out the red carpet, and now she's one of the main eventers of WrestleMania. If I'm a TNA or AEW or independent free agent, I might look at that and say, that's pretty neat. I might want to go to WWE. But like I said, there's just so much already going on with Naomi. Naomi, Rhea, Naomi, and Io Sky, those would be interesting things to develop at some point in the future. But when I just look at the amount of time that we have left between now and WrestleMania, it's too much, like it's too many ingredients on the pizza for the career of Naomi at this very moment in time to have her go after a women's world championship. Funny enough, a lot of the things that I said about Naomi apply to Bianca Belair, but also not. And why don't they necessarily apply? Well, because this is Bianca fucking Belair. Like, this is one of the biggest names in the industry. Does she also have this ever-looming presence of a potential feud with Jade Cargill, maybe with Naomi going into WrestleMania? Yes. And that literally, folks, is the only argument to make against Bianca Belair, that she might be too busy, that her plate might be too full with other WrestleMania-worthy feuds and other WrestleMania dream matches, because Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill is one of those WrestleMania dream matches that a lot of people have been fantasy booking the second that Jade Cargill was even rumored to come to the WWE. And that dream match, depending on how this storyline goes, is very much on the table. Not only is it on the table, I think it's the main course directly in front of the WrestleMania path for Bianca Belair. It literally, if it wasn't for that reason, the fact that we have that dream match already available, otherwise I'd be saying Bianca Belair is on the road to another dream match with Rhea Ripley, because Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair is the biggest women's match available, like that WWE can actually do in terms of star power, in terms of something that they've yet to actually do at WrestleMania. Bianca versus Rhea Ripley, the two biggest stars in the industry for the women, two of the biggest stars in the industry in general. That is a WrestleMania match that is going to happen. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when. And you could say that the when could be WrestleMania 41. And like I said, under 9.999 repeating out of 10 times, I would be saying that we're in the course of a collision course of the dream match of Bianca versus Rhea. But because we already are in the vicinity of another dream match in Bianca versus Jade, it makes it really difficult for me to actually believe that Bianca Belair is going to win this. This, folks, is called a spoil of riches. It is a good problem to have. So why should she win this? Because it sets up a dream match. Why shouldn't she win this? Because it sets up a dream match. It's win-win here, regardless of what happens with Bianca Belair. Now let's talk about Liv Morgan, maybe one of the more controversial options to have win this thing, because it opens the book yet again to Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan, a book that so many people wished we had already turned the page on and closed it and moved on from. But let me tell you, folks, I feel like not only is this very much on the table, Liv Morgan might be considered your favorite here. And the reason why I think she should be considered your favorite is because, of course, she has the history with Rhea Ripley, but in recent months, she's also had history with Io Sky, a history that, although short, has delivered Liv Morgan's best matches of her career, in my opinion. The chemistry that she has with Io Sky is genuinely impeccable. She's got good chemistry in ring as well with Rhea Ripley, and history with both of them. So whichever way the championship match goes, whether it ends up being Rhea winning or Io winning, or maybe it's a disqualification finish that could set up a triple threat match, Liv Morgan fits. She just literally fits like a beautiful little Lego block. It's just that a lot of people don't want to see Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley again. And I get it. WWE didn't do a great job at making that feud feel exciting, and they already paid it off with a huge match at Raw Netflix. So to me, if Liv Morgan is going to win, the best viable option is to turn the WrestleMania match into a triple threat with Io Sky, because I also fall under the camp that I don't want to see Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley again, because we just saw it being paid off at the Raw Netflix debut. But again, we've talked about Vegas odds and the likelihood of people winning, and I'm gonna be honest, Liv Morgan has to be near the top as one of the favorites. Now let's talk about the men's Elimination Chamber match, and this thing, folks, is stacked. Let's start off with one of the names that makes this one of the most stacked Elimination Chamber matches of all time, none other other than John frickin' Cena, all right? John Cena is right now the favorite to win the whole thing. And the reason why he's the favorite is the reason why so many people also want him to win, because of the chase for 17, the fact that this is his last WrestleMania ever that he's going to participate in, and people want to have John Cena be in that big match in his last WrestleMania match of all time. It's a pretty basic and simple story. Biggest name that the industry has created in the last 20 years, not named Roman Reigns, in the biggest event, and the last time that we're going to get him in this last big event. Yeah, I mean, the math kind of writes itself here. On top of that, unlike many retirements that we've seen before, I believe Cena. I genuinely believe that Cena will never step into a WWE ring again, because unlike many of the greats that have stepped away, that have been brought back, it's because of money. And this dude already shits money. He's already doing incredibly well in Hollywood. I believe him. I believe when he says he's not going to come back. So if we believe that Cena is never going to come back, then many people are going to want to see him be sent off in the best possible way, in winning 17, winning the world championship with the confetti to close the show of his last WrestleMania ever is just a beautiful storybook ending. So that's the reason why you go with John Cena. Huge star, beautiful storybook ending. The reason why you don't go with John Cena is because you want a different storybook ending. You want a story of struggle. You want a story that's got ups and downs, and it's got John Cena down in the dumps, and he finally, eventually, closer to his retirement wins. And if that's the story that you want told, then you shouldn't want John Cena to win this, because he's probably going to go to WrestleMania and win the damn thing. And I could see that very much. A story where John Cena keeps losing is too close, but not good enough to get back into a position to win the world championship again. And a great way to tell that story, they've already started with him losing the Royal Rumble and being the last person eliminated, and they can continue to compound on that by doing the same thing, but this time with the Elimination Chamber. Logan Paul, good God. Where do I start here? Because there's just so many threads to pull on here. In terms of why Logan Paul should win the Elimination Chamber match, honestly, I don't really have any. Unfortunately, with Jey Uso picking Gunther already, it to me eliminates all of the best reasons to go with a Logan Paul. I don't want to see Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, because we've already recently saw it. It was a really good match, don't get me wrong, a King and Queen of the Ring in the main event for the Undisputed Championship, but it just feels like it's unrealistic and out of reach to have Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes, especially when you look at the other options that were available. But if Gunther was an option, then all of a sudden Gunther versus Logan Paul is significantly more intriguing and a more viable option. So in terms of why you shouldn't go with Logan Paul, it would feel forced, and it just doesn't really make any sense to go with Logan Paul. You could talk about the fact that he's also a part-timer. People don't want to see a part-timer going into the main event of WrestleMania, which is a little bit two-faced, considering somebody like me is totally fine with John Cena, a part-timer, going into the main event of WrestleMania. They're different. Also the same, but different, all right? In terms of why he should, I guess because of the shock factor, because of how out of nowhere it would be. But as we learned through WCW, big swerves and big things that you didn't see coming aren't always a good thing, all right? Sometimes doing something illogical for the sake of trying to shock the fans is just not the way to go. And I unfortunately believe that Logan Paul winning, as much as I am a fan of his in the WWE, I think him winning here would count as illogical. El Campeon, Damian Priest. They're trying really hard to make everybody fall in love with Damian Priest. And I think from the people in the arena, it's working. He gets a really good reaction every single night. Of course, as we've seen with the internet wrestling community, the dweebs online that we very much have not gotten behind Damian Priest. In terms of why he shouldn't win, I don't think it's crazy to say that just like Logan Paul, it's kind of illogical. If Gunther was once again on the table, then Gunther would make sense, considering Gunther and Damian Priest still kind of have unfinished business, because Gunther has never been able to actually cleanly beat Damian Priest. But now that the only available option is Cody Rhodes, then unfortunately I feel like we're once again going down the track of trying to make a square piece fit into a round hole. It just doesn't make sense to have Damian go after Cody Rhodes. I don't see it. I don't buy it. It seems illogical for the sake of being illogical. The degrees of separation aren't far. They're both on SmackDown. They're both main eventers on SmackDown. And even though the degrees of separation aren't that big, it still feels like a giant chasm of difference between the star power of a Damian Priest and a Cody Rhodes. So I don't see this being the closer. Now, why you should go with it? Similar reasons to Logan Paul. It'd be a shock. It'd be out of nowhere. No one would see that coming. And some people do like that style of booking. But also, this would be a way to really solidify solidify Damian Priest as a proper, full-fledged, perennial main eventer in WWE, on SmackDown, Raw, wherever it is that he goes. But I think that they're going to be able to book him as such without giving him the night 2 main event. I think that they're going to be fine in terms of still making him a perennial main eventer without giving him the Elimination Chamber victory here. Drew McIntyre, in terms of why he should win, because it's Drew McIntyre and he had arguably the best year out of anybody on the roster. I'm talking all of the biggest names. You could genuinely write a solid article, a good thesis as to why Drew McIntyre was the most valuable player in the WWE all of 2024. We're talking about a breakout guy that made himself into one of the biggest commodities, not just in WWE, but just in the industry in general as well. And this is also a guy that has just kind of broken out of the bounds of just being a wrestling dude. This guy's also taken over social media and made himself, kind of like Cody Rhodes, undeniable and must watch regardless of whoever it is that he's having matches with or feuding with. And that to me is invaluable when you have a talent that is able to reinvent themselves the way like Drew McIntyre has. To me, that's a talent that you reward. And one of the best rewards that you can get as a WWE superstar is to get to main event WrestleMania and close the damn show. If it weren't for CM Punk and John Cena, I would tell you that Drew McIntyre might be the favorite here, but I believe that he's a distant third. I don't think that it's impossible for him to win here. It does seem a lot more logical for somebody like Drew McIntyre to win over a Damian Priest or a Logan Paul. So we aren't going into the world of it being illogical, but I am going into the world of it being kind of impossible when you look at some of the names that are in here. I just hope that they find something to do with Drew McIntyre that is worthy of the year that he's had, that is worthy of the talent that he very clearly has shown that he is in the past year and a bit. Seth freaking Rollins. Let's talk about first why he shouldn't win, because there's a match that I'd rather see him have over a 4th match against Cody Rhodes, that being the WrestleMania Dream match against Roman Reigns that we've never been able to see at WrestleMania, in a match that once the dust settles of all of their careers, I want to make sure that we got. Just like how we didn't get to see John Cena versus Edge or John Cena versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania, I don't want to live in a world where we're looking back and we never pulled the trigger on a proper singles match between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Also, like, the blueprint's already there, right? Like the first domino has already fallen to create this storyline. Everything that happened at the Royal Rumble, the beatdown of Roman Reigns, is just setting us up for Roman Reigns to interfere in this match to set up Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. And that to me is far more appealing than any prospect of Seth Rollins winning this. Obviously, it's not a matter of like, hey, he's illogical, doesn't make sense. No, of course, Seth Rollins is a totally logical option to go with, but it's kind of like the same situation as Bianca Belair, where the loss for Seth Rollins here still sets him up for a dream match. So in terms of what's best for us, the viewers, the best thing for us viewers is for Seth Rollins to lose here to go on to face Roman Reigns. In terms of why he should, I mean, it's Seth freaking Rollins. We never got to see him actually beat Cody Rhodes in that trilogy where he lost back to back to back, and I would love to see the story of Seth Rollins trying to chase that victory back. But, you know, when I lay out that story versus the story of him and Roman Reigns, the story with Roman Reigns just absolutely destroys this other one. So I'd rather see him go with Roman. CM Punk, the man that's never been able to main event WrestleMania, and that right there is your reason why he should win this. He should get to go main event WrestleMania at some point in his career. He's been one of the biggest stars that the entire industry has ever since coming back to the WWE. That promo with Cody Rhodes absolutely sold me. Like, it literally married me to the idea of CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania in some way, shape, or form. So the reward of CM Punk winning is incredibly appetizing. A match with Cody Rhodes, that to me is worthy of just having CM Punk win. The story, the promos, the matches, the main event aura is all there. The reason why he shouldn't win is because we still have this looming favor with Paul Heyman that could get him there anyway. A lot of people are fantasy booking a world where CM Punk sneaks his way, politics his way into the WrestleMania main event through this favor that Paul Heyman owes him, if they haven't already forgotten about that story plot. If they haven't forgotten about that story plot and that story thread of the favor, then they should utilize the favor instead of having CM Punk win. At least I would argue that, and some would as well. All right, folks, that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, take care. Goodbye. Get out of here.